They said that the sea had a soul, and that when you ventured into its depths, it began to speak to you, whispering its secrets. I never believed these tales until I found myself on a lost island, surrounded by endless waters. My ship, Sirius, set sail from the port city of Carlay towards uninhabited islands in the Atlantic. On board was a crew of 7, including myself, Captain John Smith. We were experienced sailors, unafraid of storms or tempests. But this voyage promised to be special. Rumor had it that the islands we were headed to held many secrets. The first few days of the voyage were peaceful. We enjoyed the gentle breeze and calm waters, but on the 4th day trouble began. The sky darkened with black clouds, and the sea became restless. The storm hit us suddenly. Waves battered the ship, causing it to tilt and creak. We battled the storm for hours, but it was relentless. At some point, Sirius lost control and was thrown onto the reefs of an unknown island. We were trapped. Our ship was severely damaged, and we were cut off from the outside world. The island seemed uninhabited. We decided to explore it, hoping to find something useful for repairing the ship, or at least food and fresh water. The island was covered in dense forest and appeared quite ordinary at first glance. But soon we began to notice strange things. On the beach lay the wreckage of old ships that had clearly been there for many decades. In the forest we found ancient ruins covered in moss and vines. But the strangest thing happened when we stumbled upon an old pirate map hidden in one of the caves. The map pointed to a place where a huge treasure was supposed to be located. We decided this was our chance to escape the island. Finding the treasure, we could repair the ship and continue our voyage. The entire crew eagerly set off in search. We followed the path indicated on the map for several days. The forest became denser, almost as if it had a life of its own. We heard strange sounds, whispers, and laughter coming from all directions. But the most frightening thing was that we began to see strange figures flickering between the trees. One night, while we were camping, I heard footsteps near my tent. I stepped outside and saw a man in old-fashioned clothing looking straight at me. His face was covered in scars, and his eyes glowed in the dark. He whispered something in an unfamiliar language and disappeared as suddenly as he had appeared. The next day, we found an old cemetery in the heart of the island. The tombstones were covered in strange symbols that we couldn't read. But the most horrifying thing was that some graves had been dug up, and inside lay the remains of people who were clearly not buried willingly. We decided we needed to leave this place as soon as possible. But when we returned to the beach, our ship was gone. Only debris and tracks remained, indicating that something enormous and terrifying had dragged it into the sea. We were in a panic. Without the ship and without communication with the outside world, we were completely cut off from civilization. Soon, our supplies of food and water began to run out, and we realized we needed to find a way to survive on this cursed island. One night, while I was keeping watch by the fire, I heard a beckoning whisper coming from the sea. I followed the sound and saw a figure of a woman rising from the water. Her eyes glowed bright blue, and her hair flowed in the wind. She reached out to me and started speaking in an ancient sailor's language. I understood that this was the spirit of the sea, and that she wanted to tell us something. She spoke of an ancient curse hanging over this island, and that only by finding and destroying the source of the evil could we leave this place. I woke the crew and told them about the vision. We decided to follow the spirit's directions and ventured into the depths of the island, to the place where she said the source of the curse was located. It was an old shrine, surrounded by eerie statues and ancient symbols. In the center of the shrine stood a huge stone altar, on which lay a skull with glowing eyes. We understood that this was the source of the evil. We destroyed the altar and buried the skull deep in the ground. When we returned to the beach, our ship was there, intact and unharmed. We quickly boarded and sailed away from this cursed island. When we returned to Carlay, I told my story to the captains of other ships. They listened with disbelief, but I saw fear in their eyes. I knew I would never return to that island, and that the sea truly had a soul, ready to reveal its secrets only to those who are willing to listen.